Welcome to the Courage to Be podcast. I am your host, Tanya Vasallo.
You could have loss of libido, but that can be very multifactorial, like stress is a real libido killer. So it might not be low testosterone, but it could be. Muscle wasting, just lack of drive in general. So those are the big ones that somebody might notice. You might notice that, like, if you're lifting weights, you can't do as much as you used to, which could be, loss of muscle mass. Testosterone is also great for bone health, but you're probably not going to notice that. And then it can have a role in weight gain. Low testosterone can have a role in weight gain too. The problem that we run into with testosterone for women is that there are no commercially available products. So what's happening is we have our camp of doctors over here who are very anti-compound pharmacy, and they are asking women to take a dose that is meant for men in a tube and squeeze out a tenth of that dose and rub it on. So I'm like, so how is that better than having a compounded product that's made especially for women? Because that's really the only way you can get a product made for women, where she knows exactly how much is in that quarter of a teaspoon that she's clicking out of the device and rubbing it on. How is squeezing it out of a tube better? I don't think it is, but it's FDA approved. Well, it's not FDA approved for women. And so there are some doctors who will just flat out refuse to prescribe testosterone for women, just won't go anywhere near it.
Wow, this is such a fascinating, I can see, because this is not even my area of expertise. I'm just curious with some of these things, but I can see how muddy and foggy it can get into this arena, of just between all the different symptoms, the doctors that don't know, the different camps of, compound versus commercial. I'm like, whoa, like someone's just trying to deal with their symptoms, and first even identifying that their symptoms are perimenopause or menopause, at this point. But this has helped a lot because I've done a couple other episodes on menopause with other experts, with other women going through their symptoms and stuff. And I think this is very helpful, Dr. Anna, just to, and especially to get it from your perspective, having been a pharmacist for so many years, and now, for so many other years working, in the hormonal as an expert with hormones and women's hormones. Do we take these, say we started taking progesterone and perimenopause, are you taking this for the rest of your life, or estrogen, or
Oh, I
does
hope
it
so.
switch? Okay, so this is something that I didn't know, do you stop because once you hit menopause and then you have to follow new tests, or do you have to pay attention for symptoms? Like, how will this work out? What's the long-term view with all these different bioidentical hormones?
So the guidelines that were published before 2017 said you can use it for up to 5 years, and there's still some doctors operating on that premise too, but that's not what the guidelines say now. The guidelines now say that you can use hormones as long as you need to for symptom control. Well, my thinking is I'm going to use them as long as I can to make sure that my bones and my brain and my heart are healthy. And so the recommendation says you should start them within 10 years of menopause. Even that is being debunked. The rationale for that is that if you start after 10 years, if you have any pre-existing heart disease or plaque in your arteries, if you start on estrogen, that can make your blood vessels more pliable and potentially break off that plaque, and it could go to your brain or your heart and cause a stroke or a heart attack. But there's a way around that. The way around that is to have a more intensive cardiac workup done. So get your carotid Dopplers checked, have a coronary calcium scan done, measure your LP little a, which is a blood test. It's part of your cholesterol. The coronary calcium scan measures the hardened plaque. It doesn't measure soft plaque. but it's a pretty good look. I mean, if you've got a coronary calcium scan of 0, the score is starts at 0, that's what you want, and goes all the way up. But it's looking for risk factors that might say, oh, you already have cardiovascular disease, so the risk may outweigh the benefit. But if you start within 10 years of menopause, that really shouldn't be a factor. Where we kind of run into some, gee, I'm not really sure what to do about this, is in women who have had breast cancer. And so there are studies out there that show that estrogen does not cause recurrence of breast cancer, which is everybody's big fear. I think 25 of the 26 studies that are out there show that it doesn't increase the risk. Vaginal estrogen definitely doesn't increase the risk. So that's still a conversation for a woman to have with her oncologist about risks and benefits. And my symptoms are so life altering that I need to do something because I'm miserable. So that's a gray area that's still out there.
Thank you for this. And so, yes, to continue taking the hormones throughout life, should we be checking, like if the symptoms vary, or is this something that we check yearly or every couple of years? Do you even recommend checking our hormones and perimenopause like yearly and then just seeing like what's happening? Like, what's your thoughts or recommendations on testing?
So I'm a test, don't guess kind of girl. So I do test. Again, we have the divided camps on whether you should do that or not. And there's one camp that says you just should go by symptoms and, call it a day. I don't agree with that fully. I think there are some situations where I can talk to somebody and hear their symptoms and go, yep, you need progesterone. And rather than spend the money to do the testing, we just do that. And if things get better, great. But remember, hormones are a moving target. So as you go through the menopause transition, your levels are going to change. And so I like to test women in menopause because I want to make sure that the balance of estrogen to progesterone is right. And so there are calculators online, the progesterone to estrogen ratio calculator. You can plug your levels in and it'll give you what you hope is a number between 100 and 500. And that'll tell you that your hormones are balanced. There's also data that says your estradiol level needs to be above 60 for bone protection. Well, how are you going to know that if you don't check? You won't. There's also some data that says you want your FSH when you start on hormone therapy to be down in the 20s because that will help keep you youthful longer. How are you going to know if you don't check? You're not. So, it depends on what you want to do. Like my doctor, I told her I want my estrogen level above 60 and I'm going to be checking it routinely. She's like, you get into this in way more detail than I do. She's like, if somebody feels better, I just let it go. I said, but if I'm going to be on this, I at least want to know that I'm accomplishing the goal, right? And that my bones are being protected. My FSH, I just had checked yesterday, it's 44. So I need a higher dose of estrogen. But my problem is that I get breast tenderness when I try to go up on my dose. So I may, be stuck. Either that or I need more progesterone. So I'm going to start playing around with it some more. Now,
Yes,
not everybody's going to do that, but I am.
I was just gonna say you are because that's your world. So for the average listener, for us that, we're not there and we might not understand these things like, oh, well, that, I have breast tenderness. That's because I had too much estrogen. What I was gonna ask you with regarding that testing, because the majority of doctors just do a blood test.
Yeah.
And I know you're an advocate for the Dutch test because I've been following your newsletter and I have your book and I've read, like tell us about like what is the Dutch test? Why should you do, if you're gonna do testing, go deeper, like just
Mhm.
don't do superficial testing. But can you, for anyone that's listening that's never heard about this or that went to their doctor and they're like, oh yeah, my doctor says my hormones are fine because they did a blood test. Why should we do a more in-depth test?
So I like the Dutch test. And for your listeners, the Dutch test is a dried urine test. And you'll Google it. and you'll see, oh, the Dutch test is a scam. Well, it's not a scam. So you are measuring, you're dipping filter paper into your urine 5 times during the day, or 4 if you don't get up at night. And what it is looking at is not only the levels of your hormones, so progesterone, estradiol, and testosterone, it is allowing us to see how your body is breaking down those hormones. So what metabolic pathways are your hormones traveling in? Are they in the safest pathways possible? Is your testosterone going into the pathway that is going to predispose you to acne and hair loss and irritability? Is your estrogen going into the pathway that's going to predispose you potentially to an increased risk of cancer if it's not detoxified? It also looks at your detox pathways. It also takes a deep dive into your cortisol at 4 or 5 points during the day so that we can see what your circadian rhythm is for your cortisol during the day, as well as your levels of cortisol. And then we also get a select group of organic acids, and organic acids are products of the processes that your cells use, like for vitamin B12 or B6 or some of your neurotransmitters. So it is this huge amount of information, and seeing this allows me as a clinician to be able to manipulate those pathways to make sure that you're using your hormones in the safest way possible and to support your adrenals if you have cortisol issues, whether high or low. Now, I'll say I don't always have people do a follow-up Dutch test because it's expensive. And if I just want to see what somebody's estrogen to progesterone balance is or how their testosterone's doing if they're on replacement, I'll just send them to the lab to get a blood test because that's helpful too. So there's not one right way to do things, but I like to take the deep dive right out of the gate just to see, okay, what exactly is going on.
If this helped you, following the show and leaving a quick rating both go a long way. That's really how more people get to find us. New episodes every Thursday.